John Legend, and you may have noticed my name is not anywhere in the credits of this film. I am a singer, songwriter, and a partner in a production company that makes films too, but I had absolutely nothing to do with the making of this film, and I'm truly just here. All right. And I'm truly just here as a fan and a supporter of this great work that they did. Can we give our filmmakers another round of applause? What a beautiful film. And I want to invite several of the important members of the cast and crew to come down. We've got our director, we've got our writer, we've got some of our actors here. So they're all going to come down and sit with me, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the film. Absolutely, well deserved. All right, we do have some talking to do, but first I want everyone that's on the stage to introduce yourselves, tell everyone what role you had in the film, and what drew you to this project. We'll start with
Hey y'all, how's it going? Thanks for being here. To say I'm honored does not encapsulate the words I feel to be in this room with y'all, to have the support of John, and to be on our opening weekend. But my name's Kwedar. I'm a co-writer, director, and producer of Sing Sing, and I've been working. Thank you. I've been working on this project for over 8 years, so I'm not gonna speak too long about what drew me to the film, but I just want to say that its spirit, it's the spirit of this program, and how these men spoke with tenderness and not any other form of language but that at its core, and it was something so attractive to be there. And also I was really interested in time travel. Trying to figure out how did they pull this off inside Breaking the Mummy's Code.
And I am Clint, Bentley, co-writer and producer, and I've been working with Greg for 10 or 11 years. I don't even know how long at this point. And Greg found an article about rehabilitation through the arts, the program that is inside this movie. Early on, showed it to me, said he wanted to make a film about it, and it was immediately apparent. And the thing that really drew me in was just meeting the people like Clarence here, who had been through the program and were in it, and who you just met on screen. And the feeling that you have right now is the exact feeling that we had the first time we met them, and has sustained us ever since.
My name is Monique Walton. I am a producer on this film. Again, I met Greg and Clint in Texas and Austin kind of by chance. And the first thing that I thought of when I heard the pitch was that this was a story about healing. And I was really interested in exploring that story with them, because we realized that we had the same values, which is to kind of work with communities in a way that felt like there was a mutual respect, and that where everyone could feel empowered to bring their whole selves to the story. And so that was the collaborative process that we came up with, and became a healing process. So yeah.
Hey there, my name is Paul Raci. I play Brent Pugh, the man who brought the program into the prison. And it appealed to me right away as soon as I got the phone call about playing him, because in my own personal experience, when I got back from my second tour in Vietnam, about 1972, I got out on a little bit of an early out to go to a university, and I met an acting teacher who, lo and behold, saved my life. Teachers do save lives. And just like Brent has brought a light inside of those walls of Sing Sing. So any teachers that I know there are, God bless you. And you are changing people's lives every day.
Good evening, Los Angeles. This is wild to be here. This is so incredible. Look at all these beautiful people of color on a Saturday night in a movie theater to see a special film like this. It just, my whole heart is I'm just humbled by your presence here. So thank you. My name is Sean San Jose, and I'm one of the actors in the film. See what happens when you warm them up a little bit? Very kind, very kind.
Los Angeles, how y'all doing? Here. My name is Clarence Maclin, Clarence Divine Eye Maclin. I played an actor in this movie. I played Divine Eye. And I'm the hardhead that found his way through the power of art in this movie. That's who I am.
I am an executive producer and an actor in this film. My name is Colman Domingo. I was drawn to this film because the filmmakers, Greg and Clint, they approached me with an idea that they had. They didn't have a script, but they sent me an article from Esquire magazine about this rehabilitation through the arts program at Sing Sing Prison. And I thought it was a fantastic way to tell this story. And they wanted to really drill it down to, they thought we could drill it down to a brotherhood story. And I thought that was fascinating. And I met Clarence, and we began our journey of sort of collaborating on this script together and deepening it and finding things that were important to us. And one thing truly emerged, which was tenderness. To find tenderness in a place that is not set up for you to be tender. And that's what the arts can do. So I was on board in every single way. Even before there was a script, I thought, oh, this is exactly what I want to put into the world. So I didn't have a lot of time, but we made time. We made 18 days work in between shooting The Color Purple and Rustin.
18 days? My goodness. Now, let's talk a little bit more about how the film was made. So, where did you shoot the film? How true to life was the setting for the film? Talk about some of the production decisions you made, like paying everyone equally, cast and crew. Talk about some of those decisions and why you made them.
Well, this movie was shot, we made 4 locations into our Sing Sing. I mean, all the exteriors of this facility is the real Sing Sing. You know, the term the big house came from Sing Sing. To go up the river to prison is going up the Hudson River. It's one of the only prisons in the world where a commuter train goes through the yard, reminding all these men that the rest of the world is moving and they're standing in one place. And so we needed to actually be there and communicate that and capture it. And then all these sort of interior prison settings was at a place called Downstate Correctional Facility, which was a decommissioned prison that closed a month before we went in there. And we were very sensitive to shooting in this place because the entirety of our alumni cast, which is 13 strong, had been incarcerated there at one point in their journey. And I don't know, Clarence, you want to speak to that, of what it meant to go back in there, because I can't.
Yes, let's talk about the fact that there were so many alumni, cast members, people who had actually been a part of the program. Talk a little bit about that, Clarence.
Yeah, we all had a little apprehension about voluntarily going back into a prison.
Yeah.
That held us against our will. We had a little apprehension, and even more so, we had more apprehension about putting on those prison uniforms because they are so identifiable. You identified as a convict or an inmate or something like that. And none of us felt that we were ever convicts or inmates. We was prisoners held against our will. But the purpose of why we were going back into this prison and why we was putting on these prison uniforms outweighed any amount of apprehension that any of us could have had, because the message needed to reach you. The message that we are a lot more than a prison number, that number on my shirt. I'm a lot more than that. I'm a lot more than a castaway that you could just say is worthless in society now. I got a lot more to give. And it's a lot of people behind the wall right now who feel the same way. But they need a little bit of hope and a little bit of trust poured into them from you.
And the hope was also the RTA program.
Yes, the RTA program was
Tell
a
me
beacon
how
of
you
light.
reached for that.
I had to reach for that because I seen brothers up on the stage when I went to a play one time. I had no interest in going to these plays. They was doing these plays a long time while I was there. I had no interest because I thought it was a bunch of outsiders coming in just having a pity party for some prisoners. And I don't want to be a part of that pity party. So I never went. But when I went, I had to go down to there because I had to do something there. I went down there and
You also saw some ladies on stage.
yeah, I did.
There were ladies.
Yeah, I saw
Volunteers.
Yeah. But I also saw some men who I identified as me. They was wearing greens and they was doing all this, but they was putting on a play and they was creating art. They was creating something alongside these ladies.
You know, let's talk about the brotherhood that we saw on this screen. The most striking thing to me about this film when I was watching it, what moved me the most, was how vulnerable these men were able to be with each other, and in a place where it could be dangerous to
Yes.
appear
Yes.
vulnerable. We saw people opening up to each other, being emotional with,
Yeah.
with each other, and we don't really see a lot of that
No.
level of brotherhood in films, especially with black men in films like this. And I found it very moving. So talk a little bit about the power of creating together, being in an artistic setting together, and allowing yourself to be vulnerable with your brothers.
Yeah, in a prison setting, it's definitely it's not really acceptable or conducive for you to display these type of emotions like affection, like empathy, like caring for a brother, like, you know what I mean? It's not, you could be looked at as weak, and someone may try to take advantage of you for displaying these type of emotions. However, we created a space inside of what you can consider hell. We created a space in hell where it was okay. It's okay for you to say, yo, bro, how you feeling today? You all right? It don't look like you good. You good, bro? I'm always here for you to talk to me, bro, if you need me. We created a space where that was okay to do. And the rest of the population took our lead because we became the advocates for this type of behavior. We became the consciousness of the prison RTA, the rehabilitation through the arts program, became the people that you could come to and talk to. And when you're going through things that you might not want to go to a counselor, you might not want to go to your big homie because he might think you soft. So we created a space where it's cool to come and talk about anything you need to talk about, bro. And that was something that took hold not only in Sing Sing, but it spread to the 6 other prisons that RTA is now currently in. Women prisons and men prisons in New York. You know, because we know that our women need this too. Everybody needs this too, even you.
Let me add to this.
Yes, let's go.
I would just add to this that in our film, it was very important for us to show displays of tenderness.
Yes.
Because we know it's like, that's a radical thing to do, especially for black and brown men.
Yeah.
To watch moments of just how we're very vulnerable and open with one another. And that's something we learned from these gentlemen in this program. And that was a part of, like, you know, people think they're doing theater, but actually theater is opening you up into a whole different space and letting you do some new work for yourself that's going to help you in your life and build certain skills, right?
That's
And
a fact.
so I think that, like, it was very important that the idea of seeing men being tender together, which is a radical act, I think, especially in this world where we're depicted as other than that.
Well, Colman, can you talk a little bit about your process and getting in touch with your character. Of course, a lot of your co-stars were people that really lived this life and experienced it. How did you tap into that and make it feel like you had lived that same life?
I think it was my job to just, like with anything that I play, I feel like it's a different responsibility. And this one felt like I had to sort of not come in and be performative in any way. Now this is between doing two films where I was absolutely had to build such character. And this required me to just be a man and deconstruct and just put myself in those shoes. Bring a lot of my own personal vulnerabilities as well with it, and marry them to that of some of the character of John Divine G. Whitfield that I got to know. When I found out this one key thing about him, the fact that he was wrongly accused of a crime and in prison for 25 years, and he attached himself to this theater program. He also was always in the law library advocating for his own liberation and for others. He still believed in the system. He believed that the system could work. Someone who believes the system could work is the same system that has held him in there. I thought, if that isn't a remarkable human being, and he's got hope and courage and strength and tenacity.
And how true to life was the idea of him being a playwright and
Very much
writing a lot of the shows that the RT performed?
That's
him.
very
He
true.
wrote like 9
He
plays.
also wrote 13 books, and they're out. You can buy them if you look them up right now. They're for sale.
Well, the real Divine G asked for an autograph of his own book of the man.
I know that. So you guys don't know that. And I think they mentioned credits at the end too. But he was actually a cameo in the film,
Right.
asking for an autograph from the person playing him.
Time travel was really.
Well, that's the thing I love about John, just as a human being. You get to know that brother. This is the funny thing to me. People always think that there's a certain trope and idea of what people look like or appear to be when they're in prison. Right? Am I right? I think that there's all these things that are pressed upon people.
Yeah, think some big black guy with tattoos all over his body. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah, I
exactly.
know.
But the idea, you see this small dude with glasses and just sweet, that he's existing in that space and respected and finding his way. You know what I mean? I think that's fantastic.
I mean, and we talk about this all the time, but these are human beings, and the power of art is to help us see each other's humanity. And I think this story does such a wonderful job of helping you see the humanity of each and every single person. And the thing about prisons that is very intentional is that they're very distant from population centers. They're very distant from communities and other humanity. And so the intent is for them to be forgotten and disappeared. And what this film does is make sure you don't look away, that you actually pay attention and don't let these folks disappear behind these walls.
Beautifully said.
Let's talk a little bit about how true to life the actual script was for this film. Was it highly dramatized or pretty straight from what was happening?
The friendship, it really was a script that was built in 3 parts. The main part that was heavily scripted was the friendship between Divine I and Divine G, and that's while we played with some of the times in which things happened and played with some of the timeline, that friendship and how it came together was very true, and that was something that we built that story with Divine I and Divine G. And then breaking the Mummy's Code was the second pillar, and I can't
Really happened.
honestly
They did that
say
play.
there's no exaggeration in how crazy that play is. That's the play. We had to make nothing up there. Freddy Krueger is in that thing. Right alongside a cowboy. And then the third part was something that Greg hit on very early that was baked into the script, and that Greg protected space for in directing it. That was so beautiful. Was the acting exercises and the other exercises that helped ground these men as people in this crazy place. And that's just go to your favorite place or audition for this role. And that was something that Greg would set it up in a way that all on the script it would just say is they talk about their perfect place. and then Greg would make this space for these men to do that beautiful work that you saw.
It's intentional that we didn't put based on a true story in front of this film. It's a conversation that Colman and I had in post, because it was like, what does that mean in relation to this film? It feels like it's existing beyond that to like some kind of deeper, more transcendent truth. And there's this thing that maybe happened for you all, where at a certain point in the movie you're like, no one could have written that. You know, only someone could have lived it. And then you see all that archival footage that starts to play at the end, and then you see how much of our cast are playing a representation of itself. And then now you're in a room where one of those men has just walked out and is sitting in front of you. And I think it's sort of just this beautiful journey that we've been on.
Well, I'm gonna talk to the other actors up here, Paul. Talk about how you approached your character, how much you had to kind of connect with the person you were playing, or you know, how did you connect with that character?
Well, it was pretty easy for me because many of you know I was a sign language interpreter, certified court sign language interpreter for about 40 years. I've been in and out of federal and state prisons. I've been behind the walls. I see how, now for my clients were deaf guys. And so what I always go to is the place of how I was brought up. These deaf guys, if they were in a prison, they would not be allowed to have access to a program like RTA because they're deaf. They need interpreters, and so there's no way you can afford interpreters in a system like that. So it hit me on a lot of different levels. But just getting to know Brent, he's a beautiful, peaceful, loving man who brought this program there and brought it to them. He just changes lives. So for me, it was easy to identify with him because, as I said, I ran into several great men in my life that run addiction programs or just mentors. And Brent Buell is one of the greatest men that I've ever met. He's got a heart of gold. So I just take my hat off to him right here.
How about you, Sean? You want to talk a little bit about your character?
Yeah, I just also was really moved by what you said, Mr. Legend. So cool to be on stage with John Legend. But about how we create these, you know, we live in the so-called United States, and as we all know, everyone in this room, we're affected by the prison industrial complex. And just to your point, they try and forget that problem, that so-called problem that they've created. What was amazing about being able to do this is that we have this huge framework that presents the prison industrial complex and all its evil and all its ugliness and all its dehumanizing. But the whole film is about the human heart, the possibilities of the human heart. And for me, I'm just so lucky I got to do this with this great actor, but also a great friend, Colman Domingo. And I think this light that Colman brought to the room was something that was started with these filmmakers who create something very crafted, very purposeful, very organic, and something you don't see in filmmaking, you don't see in many industries, where they're placing these individuals who want to be free and open and vulnerable in a room together, and then the possibilities what can come in a space like that is just, it's limitless. So it was really like being in, it was like swimming, if that makes some kind of sense. Like I came up in a world as a child of immigrants, so, you know, as it turned out I was poor, a person of color, that I didn't even know I had these emotions. I didn't even know they existed. I didn't know they were allowed to exist. And then you get in these strange rooms that are created, they go, actually you do feel it, and I feel it too, and you feel it too, and we feel it. And if we all know that, I think then we're one step closer to being alive.
Right.
Monique, I was introduced to this film by my friend Gina Belafonte and the folks at Sanko for doing impact work for this film. So let's talk a little bit about the kind of impact you want to make with the film and what kind of work is going into making sure that the film makes that kind of impact.
Yeah, thank you for that question. You know, there's so much that we want, you know, thank you all for being here. We want this film to be seen far and wide, of course, ultimately. But I think that one of the things that I take away from the film is that it made me realize how much prisons and the structure of prisons is to make them invisible and to make the people invisible. And so through the process of working with all the alumni cast and working and learning about RTA, they became visible to me, and that's what we hope that the impact is that we all sit with the fact that we're the most incarcerated population in the world, and we should try to imagine a future where that is not the case. So, on a bigger level and on a heart level, that's the impact that we want. And then another huge piece of the impact is that, one of our first screenings of this film was in Sing Sing. And I'm still processing, it happened a couple weeks ago, I'm still processing what that feeling was.
How did that go? Talk to me about it.
I mean, it's hard to really put into words. There were so many emotions. But we screened the film, and thank you to H34 for making that happen, because there's so much effort that went into making that happen. But just kind of going in and being in the space, being in the actual cathedral, chapel space where RTA, where all those plays happen, on that, showing the screen, and you're seeing the kind of meta, like, you're seeing the archival footage on the actual stage that happened, and in the room with incarcerated men who are currently, incarcerated and dealing with so much. It was just, and then being fully present, you have no phone. It just felt like such the purest form of trying to connect and trying to be in community and trying to heal and trying to repair. And yeah, it was just incredibly powerful.
Just to add to that, I mean, things hit way different in that room. Things hit, every time we screen this film, there's so much that we share in a theater together. We've been screening this all over the country, but then when you're inside Sing Sing playing this movie, one in particular that really leveled me was at the end when Colman finally feels the fresh air on his face. There were men in that room who were moving their face in the air as if they were touching it again and yearning for that feeling. And then we walked out as civilian audience, walked out the same gate that Clarence walked out. Clarence was in the room. And we felt that, we knew how precious it was, and we knew that the audience that we shared the experience with was still behind those walls.
Clarence, talk about what it means to be an alumnus of this program, and what do you know about some of your fellow alumni who are out in the world now, and what the program has done to affect their post-prison life?
Well, it feels amazing to be a part of this program because of all the great work that it does in rehabilitating men, in rehabilitating women, in allowing us to go back into society and become a positive factor in society with the knowledge and the wisdom that we gain from the things that we learn from this program. And to go back into Sing Sing and be on the same stage where I started this journey from, to get back on the same stage and perform and to talk and have discussions with brothers who I walked these corridors with, who I sat in the mess hall with, who I even went to the box with, to be able to show them that, yo, bro, if I could do it, man, then it could be done. And there's life after prison, bro. All you gotta do is want it. You can't just sit here and wait for the Department of Corrections to correct your behavior, bro. We grown men now. There's nobody to point the finger at, bro. The rehabilitation starts here. You're gonna have to focus. You're gonna have to find like-minded people that wanna do the things that you striving to do, and join them, link with them. This is the beginning of rehabilitation. It gotta start with you, and you're gonna have to find people that are doing it, so you can do it too.
Colman, I want to talk briefly about the power of theater. It's different than making a film, it's different than putting on a concert. There's something very special about theater. Talk about what it's like to be a part of a theater troupe and how powerful that can be.
Well, first, thank you. That's a beautiful question. I've been a theater practitioner for over 33 years. And so I feel like I really do know the power of what it does. I grew up actually a pretty shy kid, to be honest. And I think once I sort of found myself in the theater, I found a way to express myself. And understood the power of it. And I'll tell you this, I was actually Sean used to run this theater called Intersection for the Arts in San Francisco. And, come on,
Okay, we got
Come on, Bay Area.
and I remember this one time we got a visit. It's something that stayed with me. It's actually just something that I think that will express everything I want to say by Rodessa Jones. And Rodessa Jones is this fantastic artist in the Bay Area who does work with women in prisons as well. And she said one time, politics doesn't work. Religion is too eclectic. But art just might be the parachute that saves us all.
Fact.
I feel like she's spoken my whole soul. And I think that that's been something that's been sort of like keeping me going and fills me up and fuels me with everything that I do. So I feel like it shows up. Wanting it to be that parachute for all of us as I lead these sets and produce work and, reach out and do work with my partners in crime. I feel like we're all trying to do the same thing. You know what I mean? We're trying to really make sure that it's available to all of us because we all need it.
We all need it, and I'm just so grateful for each of you for pouring so much love and heart into all these performances and all the work you did on this film. Thank you to everyone who's here tonight and witness this great work. Give it up one more time for the director, writer, producer, cast members of